Oh, ma'am. He's mic'd. Go ahead.
Can I go this way?
Don't fall. This would be a bad way to put it.
Rick, this is all the Times Square. Here to support you.
All right.
Guys, the next dress rehearsal will be back tomorrow.
Oh, you made it.
Actually, no. I've seen him drive. Rick, you can be right there. I'm right next to Juliet. Okay. Be ready. 5 seconds.
Good morning. Good morning. It's another great day in St. Petersburg. I stand here with former Mayor Baker to endorse and support him to be future Mayor Baker. He is the candidate that knows how to work with City Council as a team for the best interests of the city. He is the candidate that knows fiscal responsibility. He is the candidate that possesses the experience, the knowledge, and the passion to lead our city forward. And therefore I endorse Rick Baker for Mayor of St. Petersburg. And now allow me to introduce my friend, former City Council member, and now State Representative, Wingate Newton.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, my strength, O Lord, my Redeemer. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm fresh back from Tallahassee at a 9:30 signing die, and I have been driving all night. So if I pass out, charge it to my heart, not to my head. But I'm here this morning. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Here to endorse a man, the only man that was able to make significant changes in the area where I grew up. As you know, I was born and raised here in the city of St. Petersburg. Offered myself up for service in 2006, and through the grace of God and the people of the city, they've been pushing me on and pushing me forward. Personally, I think the city is way off track. Everything that's important to the people and that needs to be done, hear me now, needs, not want. We got a lot of areas of greatest needs. I think it's been ignored. And I oftentimes see Mayor Baker all around the city, and I always plug at him about what we gonna do, what we gonna do, what we gonna do. And he said, well, if I decide to do it, are you gonna be there? And I said 100. And when they called me and we had a session that wouldn't end, I said, when it's over, I'm gonna drive all night to make sure I be here. And that's why this morning I endorsed Mayor Rick Baker 2.0 as the next mayor of St. Petersburg. I would like to introduce my chair, former colleague, Ms. Leslie Corinne.
This is a historic day because that by far is the shortest speech I ever heard. I'm really honored to be here today. Approximately 3.5 years, I endorsed Rick Kreisman for mayor. During his term in office, I have been increasingly disappointed. Rick ran on a platform of leadership, and I have seen none of that. What I'm here for today is to endorse proven leadership.
Yes, yes.
I had the privilege of serving as city council member with Rick Baker as mayor. I know of his respect for city council, his respect for city staff, and his respect for all people throughout this community. This city needs to get back to leadership. We need a mayor that will take us in the right direction. Mayor Baker's message and his actions were always consistent throughout this community. I think by far we have an individual that will bring us all together and work together for the good of this entire community. So it is with my great pleasure and one of my proudest moments right now to introduce the next mayor of the city of St. Petersburg, Mayor Rick Baker.
Councilmember Kennedy, you mind if I use that expression sometime?
Anytime you want.
Today is absolutely another great day in St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy and Councilmember Newton, Representative Newton, former Councilmember Curran. Thank you for those great words. Also, I want to thank former Councilmember Bill Dudley and Ed Montanari for being in support. And I have three good friends here I'd also like to recognize. We have people that have really helped build this city over the years. Mayor Dave Fisher, a dear friend. Mayor Bob Ulrich, a dear friend. And Mayor Bill Foster, a friend and prayer partner. We're about to engage in a new journey, and I like to start new journeys where they belong, and that's by acknowledging God and thanking God for what He has done in my life, what He has done for my family, what He has done for our city and our country in the past, and I ask His continued guidance on me, and my protection of my family, and His grace and blessings to our great city going forward. Amen. Thank you. Praise be to God. I want to reintroduce to everybody my family. The only one that hadn't aged is my wife. my wife Joyce is with it, and she's been my partner and best friend for 31 years. She's been best friend for more than that, but married for 31 years. And some people don't understand what it takes to be the wife or husband of somebody in office, and she has handled it with grace and courage the whole time. Thank you. When I was elected mayor in 2001, my children were 5 and 4. Jacob is up at college right now, and Joanne, my daughter, is here, and she has grown to be. She has grown to be a beautiful young woman, a brilliant young woman, a hardworking, highly ethical person of who I am immensely proud. Good to be here. Thank you. You know, for the past 3 decades or so, our city has been on a great adventure. It has been led by a lot of people that I've just introduced, as well as other leaders. And it has included an army of the people that are represented by the rest of the folks that are here today. People that are teaching our kids, and coaching our children's games. People that are working in the various offices of the city departments. People that are in our neighborhoods, in our faith groups, in our businesses. And this army of people, together with this leadership that you've seen, over that 3 decades, has planted the seeds for the greatest renaissance that our city has ever seen in its history. And I was blessed to be mayor from 2001 to 2010, during a period of time when that renaissance came into full force. And we saw such great things in our community happen, in our neighborhoods. We set out to develop the first green city designated in the state of Florida, environmental programs and energy programs, and we achieved it. St. Pete became the first designated green city. We decided we wanted bike paths. We had been named the top mean street in the country for bicycle and pedestrian transportation, but we decided we were going to change that. And we invested $20–30 million of other people's money, by the way. We got state and federal grants to come in and build, with the goal of building the largest bike path system in the southeast United States. And now St. Petersburg is a top 10 bicycle city in America. We set out to build a playground within a 1.5 mile walk of every child in the city. We got 85% there before we left office because, yeah, somebody's got, there must be a mom up there. Every time I say that to a crowd, I can tell the moms in the crowd, yeah. Because I think it's different if you can walk to your playground and get to know your neighbors and get to know the families in your neighborhood. And you feel somehow better about it if you don't have to get in your car when you do it. So we did that. We built the bicycle paths, and we built rec centers and libraries all over the city. And we worked with the neighborhood leaders. We didn't tell them what to do. We went and asked them what they thought should be done. We have 100 neighborhood associations in our city. We developed neighborhood plans. Neighborhoods are the core to your city, right? They're the core to your city. And so we established a deputy mayor for neighborhoods because I thought it was important. And we went out there and we worked hard to make our neighborhoods better. We worked in our neighborhoods. We worked in our schools. You know, when I ran for office the first time, people said, schools aren't part of the mayor's job, but we made it part of the mayor's job. Why do you make it part of the mayor's job? Because, yeah, thank you. It's because if your schools aren't prospering, right? Well, first of all, it's the right thing to do. You want your kids to have hope. You want your kids to have a chance, right? So you want them to learn while they're in school. If schools aren't prospering, then it's hard for them to do that. But it's also hard to get people to move into your neighborhoods, because who wants to move in a neighborhood if their kids are not going to go to a good school? And who wants to bring their business or keep their business in St. Petersburg if you don't have great schools for the people that are working there? Because they're going to get their workers out of our schools, and their workers' kids are going to go to our schools. So I hear from businesses all the time, schools are important, and we made them important. We had incredible programs, some of the most aggressive, positive public school support programs around. Whether it's 1,000 doorway college scholarships that we raise private money for to send kids in free and reduced lunches to college, or whether it's supporting principals or supporting teachers with housing loans, or whether it's getting corporate partners for every school in the city. Schools, when I was in office, schools knew that the city was their full partner. They knew it. And by the way, they progressed. And they didn't progress because of me. They progressed because we have great teachers and administrators and parents working and kids working to improve their grades. And our elementary schools, we went from having 0 A elementary schools when we started to 16 out of 27 A elementary schools when we finished. And we were on a lift. You know,
Yes.
Schools are important, and we felt they were important. We worked with our police officers and our police department to make this a safer city. We got our police strength up to full strength for one of the first times ever when we were in office. And that was not an easy thing to do, but we did. And we worked, we created a street crimes unit to work to get the drugs off of our streets. We substantially increased the number of drug arrests in the city of St. Pete to try to get the drugs off the street. And our violent crime rates went down, and our murder rate went down by the time we left office to the lowest I think it was ever recorded in the current UCR records. Public safety is the #1 job of the city. I get that, and we worked at it, including working with our fire department, including working with Homeland Security when we had 9/11 back then. It was a tough time. We created a Homeland Security. We worked in public safety. Public safety we knew was important. And economic development, jobs are very important. They're important. And so we worked all over to bring jobs into the community. We worked in our downtown, our midtown, throughout the community. And our downtown just became the coolest downtown ever, right? We brought businesses. Duke came in. Stanford Research Institute came on. We brought a St. Pete College campus into downtown. And in early on in my years, I declared St. Petersburg to be the cultural center of Florida. And that's something I like to do. I lie until it becomes true, you know? and then we worked out to make it there, right? We brought the Dali into the core of downtown. We brought the Shahuli into the got the Florida Orchestra to move their headquarters downtown. American Stage got a new headquarters in partnership with Carl Cutler and the great things he was doing at St. Pete College at the time. And we created an entire warehouse art district for art. And I get it because actually my wife's got all the art taste in my family. I try. But the reality is I get it from the perspective of quality of life, that art is important. And I get it from the perspective of economic development, because it has now become one of the top generators and engines of our economy, and we should support the arts in our community. We did do that. And Midtown, we worked in Midtown. As Representative Newton said, we worked in Midtown. And by the way, nobody had to escort me through Midtown, right? Nobody had to go with me when I went to Midtown. The folks that went with me when I went to Midtown were my wife and my children when we went into Midtown, into the neighborhoods and into the events that they had in that part of the community, because we cared, because we understood it, because we had a heart for it, right? You first have to want to do it. Whatever you do, you first have to care, and you first have to love it, and you first have to want to do it. And we did those things. So it's easy to rattle off. It's easy to rattle. Oh yeah, we got a grocery store and we got a bank. By the way, never in history did they have it. And we got a clinic, the new clinic at the Old Mercy Hospital. And we got a Job Corps site. We brought a St. Pete College campus in. We rebuilt Wildwood. We did all of these things. A new library in the Midtown. We did all of those things. And it's easy to rattle them off. Each one, I promise you, is very, very, very hard, right? We did those things, though, because it's important, because our city should be seamless. It should be seamless. And the reason all this succeeded, that these mayors, these council members, and these army of community leaders, the reason they succeeded is two things. One is we love our city, right? We love our city. You know, a lot of people, there may be one or two people that don't like me. I understand that. But nobody doubts that I love St. Petersburg. Nobody doubts that I love St. Petersburg. Nobody doubts that I will fight anybody in the media, anywhere, for St. Petersburg, because I care deeply about our city, and I'm always going to do what I think is best for the city. And that's the way these mayors have been, and that's the way these council members have been, and that's the way this army is. They love our city. That's one of the reasons we succeeded. The other reason we succeeded was because we were together, right? We were together. You know, in Washington nowadays, everything is divide. Everything, right? It's if I can just take this group and hate this group, or I can love this group and hate this group, as long as I can get to 51%, I'm good, right? That's the way it is nowadays. That's not the way it is in St. Petersburg. That's the way it should not be in St. Petersburg. We should work together with everybody. The whole concept is seamless. is not just a neighborhood, but it's also an idea. It's an idea that we're in it together, wherever you are. And that's why we succeeded. And so St. Petersburg was on a trajectory, right? It was on a trajectory. We even weathered, Mayor Foster had to weather some hard years in the national economy, right? But we were still moving up. As he was leaving office in the Great Recession, we had buildings going up downtown at the time because we weathered the storm. Because we looked at, when we needed to, when we had good times, we lowered tax rates and we quadrupled our emergency reserves and we put the money away, and then we had prudent leadership to get us through the tough times. Right? That all changed 3.5 years ago. We now have leadership that is insulated. And you in the media know that. Who can name Rick Baker's spokesman when he was mayor, right? Rick Baker never had a spokesman when he was mayor. Maybe because I didn't have an extra $125,000 to throw away. Who can name Rick Baker's emissary throughout the community that went to the neighborhood groups and the picnics and all that stuff? Who can name that person that Rick Baker sent out to the community to deal with the issues of the community, listen to the people? There wasn't. I was the emissary. I was out there. So we've developed this insulated. Who can name Rick Baker's chief of staff?
Joyce.
Okay, besides Joyce, who can name his paid chief of staff? You know, we have a chief of staff now that I think a lot of people wonder who's running the city sometimes, right? A lot of people wonder that. Did anybody wonder who was running the city when I was mayor of the city? No. You know, it's an insulated administration. And it's also one that is seeking to divide us. And there's no better example than the recent case. We have some retailers on Central Avenue that have been trying to get the city to respond to some needs, parking and other issues that they have in that part of our community. And it's been a deaf ear, and a deaf ear, and a deaf ear. And now we have a campaign. So all of a sudden we have a solution, but it's not to solve the problem of parking. It's like, okay, how can I divide up people? Let me say this, let me make it illegal for any of these landlords that have invested their money in our city from being able to do chains, because maybe it'll get these retailers that are local to be for me, right? Let's divide them up. Why do we do that? Why don't we sit down together and figure out what are the issues and let's solve the issues together rather than throw proposals on the table designed to divide people up into winners and losers. That's not the way I operate. People that know me know I sit down and I try to solve problems and bring people together, not win by dividing them up. And by the way, you're going to hear a lot about Republicans and Democrats in the next few months because that's the only thing they have, folks. They have no record they can run on. They have no successes. I love their hat. They call them the pier a success. They're calling the sewage system a success. Amazing. So if you can't run on your record, then you look for other ways to divide, right? Let's say they're Republicans. I'm a Democrat. There are more Democrats than Republicans. Let's say we're all for the Democrats and we hate the Republicans, right? That's what's going on. That's what's going on. You know what? The newspaper, when I was mayor, they tried to do an expose on me. They do that every 3 or 4 days. And they said they didn't. I was in office for 6 months, and they went and investigated who I had hired and who I had appointed to the office because they were wondering if I was going to appoint or oppose. And they called me. The reporter called me, and actually, I love the newspaper. I love you, Adam. I love everybody. But they called me that day, and they said, Mayor, we did this. We went and checked the registration of everybody that you hired for office. And I said, okay, well, you know more than I did because I never did. And they said, do you know you hired more Democrats than Republicans at the time? I said, please don't tell Governor Bush. He'll be really ticked off. I don't care. When you hit the city borders, Republicans, you know, when we run for office, we have to sign an oath of affidavit. These mayors signed it, these council members signed it, I signed it, Mayor Kreisman signed it. And that oath of affidavit said, I will not serve as a partisan in this office. This is a non-partisan office. And you're going to see everything. You're going to see everything that they can do to call this a partisan office because that's the only chance they have, right? Don't buy it. Look at the people behind me. Ask the people in Midtown whether I'm partisan, whether I didn't care about the issues of everybody in our city. Lots has changed. And the result of this approach, this isolation and this effort to divide, has been disastrous. It's been disastrous. It's been disastrous for Midtown, right? Midtown. We worked so hard, Wingate. We worked so hard in Midtown, right? We did so much in Midtown. We put so much effort into Midtown. And we did it because it was the right thing to do. But what happened when Mayor Kreisman took office? Here's a promise he kept. Is he promised he was not going to build any buildings in Midtown. He said, you know what, I don't believe in building buildings like Mayor Baker. I believe in helping people. Well, I guess someone never really explained to him how when you build a clinic, people are getting help inside that clinic, you know? And when you build a college campus, people get education so they can get jobs on that college campus. When you build a job corps, people get training so they can get jobs at that job corps site. When you build a grocery store, then it helps eliminate a food desert. It gives people the opportunity so they don't have to take the bus. I talked to people who had to take the bus and try to carry 2 bags at a time and go back and forth because they don't have a grocery store. And so it's important, and that helps people. It's not just a building. It helps people with what is going inside the buildings. And Mayor Kreisman just doesn't care. His deputy mayor, after they ignored the grocery store that would go and let it go out of business, his deputy mayor wrote a letter. It was the honest letter. It said, you know what, the people in Midtown, they really, can't support a grocery store. So maybe it shouldn't be there. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. The people in Midtown deserve a grocery store, just like they deserve any kind of services you and I have in our neighborhoods, and they deserve to be a seamless part of our city. Our pier. That pier, we've had an iconic pier on the waterfront since the 1920s, right? And when you're watching this ad of the mayor's, I want you to think of 2 things when he brags about the pier. One is that when he ran for office, he promised that by 2015 he'd have a pier done, and we'd all be there enjoying it right now, right? Anybody been out there lately? 2 years later, we have a hole in the water. That's all we have. We have a hole in the water. And the other thing that he promised is that he was going to give the voters a chance. He was going to tell the voters that they were going to get to choose the design. That's what he told them. Go back and read it. He told them. And so we had a design competition. We had a bunch of groups. One of them, by the way, had 3 local architects. You might have heard this slogan recently in the mayor's office, keep local, buy local, all that.